Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, everyone, to our 10th grade sophomore parent night. We'll get started in a few minutes. This is actually being recorded, and we will actually post the recording on our counseling website. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Can we start the slides, please? So good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 10th grade parent night hosted by our lovely counseling department and our college and career center. We have Miss Laura Duran, Mr. Jacob Bodine, Miss Deanna Mistel Ali will be hosting tonight. We have a couple of other counselors in the building, so therefore we just want to shout out our new counselor, Jenny Dumas, and so we definitely want to say welcome, Jenny. She took over Miss Adler's caseload, so if you see a new name, don't be surprised. As I stated before, we're recording this lovely parent night tonight, and you'll be able to see this probably by next week on our counseling website. Next slide, please. So tonight's focus, we will definitely focus on our school counseling services as a whole. We'll go over our new course selection and the process that we are in the process of starting, which will start next week, and also discussing balance. We will go over the graduation status or graduation requirements and our college entrance requirements. And then Ms. Duran will take over and she will go over some college and career center services and some on-campus resources. Next slide, please. So here is our lovely counseling team. If you don't know whom your counselor is, you can go on to Aries, and it's actually under the actual courses. So you'll be able to see who your student's counselor is if you don't know already. But we have several roles that we definitely incorporate within our team and our overall role as a school counselor. And so we're definitely supporting students in various different sectors. We use the ASCA model, which we focus on career, academic, and social emotional. So we do focus on three areas, and so we definitely support students in various different areas. So of course, connecting and engagement, that is most essential because we definitely want to build relationships with each and every one of our students. Of course, we're looking at academic success and planning, and of course, post-secondary planning, and then overall wellness. That is definitely an essential piece of who we are as a school counseling team. Next slide, please.
Ms. Weiss, I'm just going to interrupt real quick. Esta presentación está disponible en español. En la parte debajo de su pantalla pueden ver un mundo. Si hacen, por favor, clic en el mundo, pueden seleccionar la interpretación en español con la señorita Herney, que nos está interpretando esta noche. De nuevo, si gustan escuchar la presentación en español, por favor, en la pantalla de abajo, hagan clic en la opción de mundo y seleccionen el idioma en español. Sorry, Ms. Weiss.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Morales. Sorry about that. As he stated, we do have translation. So if you need to translate in Spanish, please click, it'll say translation and it'll say English and Spanish, and please don't hesitate to do that. So this is our overall school counseling services. So for each year, we do focus on different subject areas to ensure that we're hitting all of the targets when it comes to students, making sure we're looking at students holistically and ensuring that we are guiding them in the best way possible throughout their high school journey. So, of course, during the sophomore year, our primary focus is social, emotional, and career exploration, in addition to ensuring that students are going over and reviewing their 4-year plan, looking at classes, picking classes, things of that nature. So we have various different things that we will be incorporating throughout the sophomore year to ensure that we are hitting those particular subject areas. So as a parent of a sophomore student, so sophomore year is kind of all these lovely circles, and so they're embedded in different parts. And so, of course, tonight with the school counseling parent night, and then we have the foundation. They have the parent speakers, they have the PTSA, they have those series to help kind of guide you in different subjects. The College and Career Center, they have several events, and then we have school-wide events as well. Next slide, please. And then as a student, we have various different things that we've incorporated this year. So first and foremost, the early part of this year, we did have some workshops, and we collaborated with the College and Career Center, and we were able to focus on 3 different subject areas because we wanted to make sure students kind of were, a little bit more knowledgeable in certain areas, which you'll hear a little bit more about in a few minutes. So we did do some workshops during ACT time. Then we will have the 10th grade small group workshops, which will be in the springtime. And we focus on, as I stated, more social, emotional, and career exploration. Of course, we have school counseling events and presentations, such as what we're doing this evening. And we do have some other events that we do during ACT. The College and Career Center has several workshops during ACT. They have some college visits that the college representatives come and talks to students. And then, of course, we're going to incorporate one-on-one course advising appointments, which you'll hear about in a few minutes as well. So we do have things that we're incorporating this year, which is new. And so we're just trying to ensure the success of each student and have more time with them one-on-one. Next slide, please. So as I stated about the small groups, we'll have those in the spring. The small groups incorporate, it's about maybe 10 students. So each school counselor has their own students, and we collaborate with the College and Career Center, and they actually do the college and the kind of career exploration piece. But we do have where we discuss like personal narratives, looking at them as the first person and them being the character of their own story and their own journey. And so we're starting to look at, just navigating their way throughout the rest of their high school journey, communicating so they can learn how to communicate and look at different focus points. And then, of course, engaging with a small amount of their peers and looking at various different sectors. So we're trying to incorporate a lot of different things to ensure that students are starting to look at themselves as a 10th grader or as a sophomore as the first person, because they will have to start looking at personal statements and things like that if they're doing a summer program, if they're looking to, attend, looking at their personal statements, which they'll start their junior year. So we're just trying to start them a little bit earlier, so that they can have more meat and be able to start looking at them, their careers and things like that. So we're just trying to like incorporate different things. Next slide, please. And then I will be turning it over to Mr. Jacob Ledeen.
So hi, everyone. I'm Deanna Mastelloli. I'll be taking over from here. And so this is an overview of kind of the 3 domains that we are working on with your sophomores this year. And it's giving you an outline of what we're going to be covering in the different domains with your students so that they're best prepared for their life after high school. So we're going to be going into depth into many of these today. This is a good overview for you to see that we are going to be making sure that we are taking time to hit all 3 of these. And we'll be going into detail a little bit more in these next couple slides. So on the next slide, we want to make sure that everyone is familiar. If we could go to the next slide, Mr. Morales, that would be great. We want to make sure that everyone is comfortable and familiar with how to navigate information that's being sent out and know where to find the information that's being sent out. And if we could just move on to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so Parent Square, as many of you are aware, is the main kind of information platform that we're using. Ms. Ranieri is sending out the Eagle Community News each week, and we're really making sure that information is being sent out to families regularly. So Parent Square is going to be one of your go-to places for not only counseling information, but just for school news in general. And so just making sure that all of you have a Parent Square account set up. Those were set up for families for everyone when your student started. I do have a link to all of these resources here on this slide. If for some reason you don't have a Parent Square account or you need support with that, or your ARIES or SAS students SAS account or parent SAS account, there's a tech help support that will direct you to the district website. And so another good way to get information about counseling and college and career center events are our specific websites that are linked on the Los Altos homepage. And of course, ARIES or SIS, as you might know it, is another main way that platform for your students' academic information. And we're going to be going really in depth today, so you can have a better understanding about how you can support your students through their academic journey and understand kind of what is going to be expected of them and things to be looking for in there. Okay, so we'll go on to the next slide, please. So again, this is ARIES SIS. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this platform. There's a parent portal, there's a student portal as well. This is a place where you'd be able to check your students' attendance. So attendance is logged in there. This is the place where you're going to be checking your students, or you may be checking their grade books, right? So this is the up-to-date grade book platform that the teachers are using. So the current course progress and grades. It is a place where you are going to, students can access their graduation status report. And we're going to look at that in detail in a minute. And that's outlining what the graduation requirements are and where your students at with those requirements. And then lastly, the transcript. So their official academic record, unofficial transcript can be accessed in their ARIES SIS account. And it's a great thing to be looking at those after every grading period. So we just got done with the fall semester, right? right? We now have updated grades, not only in our transcript, but also populated on our graduation status report. So this is an example of a student's graduation status report, which is really going to outline, for example, starting in column A, what are the required subjects or credits needed in order to meet your requirements for your high school diploma? What has your student completed thus far? I'm in column B. So that's completed coursework. In column C, the currently enrolled courses. So what are they enrolled in currently, and how many credits per subject are they enrolled in? And then column D, the credits that are still needed to graduate, right? And so they're also populated in the bottom in the different colored boxes there. And this is something that we are continually reviewing with students. And it's something that we really want them to be familiar with. And we will be showing them how to access and view this. We did it with them last year. We're going to do it again in the classroom next week with them. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have a copy of a student's transcript. This is the unofficial view that a student would be seeing when they are in their ARIES account or their SIS account. It's as many of you know, their high school academic record. It's a collection of all the courses taken and the grades and credits earned. The transcript is a document that will be reviewed by colleges and universities. It's a part of the application package that students are submitting to colleges, and that we will likely be submitting on their behalf if they ask us to. And we want to make note that on the transcript is the GPA. So that's a numeric metric used for many different things, scholarship and financial aid awards, of course, college eligibility. And there's a few notes here about which universities would use which GPAs and which grades, and then course selection. So our college selection. So one of several factors that colleges may be considering. So we want you to be aware that the GPA is evolving. It changes every semester after every semester is completed, and being aware that it's available to view on the transcript if needed. And we will continue to check in and talk with your students and yourselves about what that means in the grand scheme of things. Okay, so we have our MBLA graduation requirements. I'm sure many of you have seen this now a few times. I think the big takeaway here is that, your students are working through their second year. They're going to be using that grad status and that transcript, to be gauging where they're at with meeting these graduation requirements. And we're going to be making sure that they are checking off these boxes and working towards finishing all of these credits on time. The next slide is going to be going over what are called the A through G college entrance requirements. And those are specific to the UC-CSU. So just making a note that these are different requirements. There's a good deal of alignment with the graduation requirements, the MBLA graduation requirements. These are requirements that the UCs and CSUs have set forth, and we will also be working to support your students with tracking where they're at with their A through G requirements, and we'll show you a picture of the document that we use to do that. And so just keeping in mind that there are certain things that, we'll need to make sure your student is planning for if they haven't done some of these things, but we're working on guiding them with these requirements in addition to the graduation requirements. Next slide, please. All right, so this is the 4-year plan document that your students started last year. So we were in classrooms and we worked on these with your students last year. And this is a Google Doc. It's in their Google Drive. And so this is something that would be great to revisit with your student as we're embarking on the course selection process. It really is a roadmap. It's meant to be revisited and updated each year. It's not set in stone, but this document allows your student to map out what they're considering in order for them to be able to meet all of the requirements, like we stated before, graduation in A through G. So both graduation in A through G are populated on this document, on this Google Drive document. Your student has shared it with us, so we have access to it, but they are the owners. So if you're curious about it and you haven't seen it yet, please check in with them about that. And I'm sure they can search it up under 4-year plan, their first and last name. We will be revisiting this document with them again to make sure, they're updating it and forward planning for the further years, 11th and 12th grade. The next slide is going to talk about the A through G checklist. So this is something that we're going to be sharing with your students when we have our 10th grade workshop. It is a checklist document that supports students with tracking where they're at with those A through G requirements. And so we are going to continue to review and check in as we do with the 4-year plan. So another document to guide and support your students through this process. All right, and with that, I am going to turn it over to Mr. Loreen. Thank you.
Good evening, buenas noches, everyone. Just want to say such an honor and privilege to spend some time with you guys. Hopefully I can cover some important information for y'all on what's coming up and some exciting new steps we put forward here as a counseling department. My little segment of the presentation will be focused on our course selection process. It's a timely moment right now to have this webinar as we are just on the cusp. We're about to begin this process. So I'm just going to highlight some of the opportunities that our students are going to have some conversations. In this slide, I would like to kind of have a theme of to ask questions early and often. This is a comprehensive process we're having, so there's no one moment where a student is going to make a choice. Our students are going to be lucky enough to have multiple points of contact to really figure out what they're going to be doing with course selection. And so I'm just going to review real quick, what those steps look like and all those options, so that you have a better sense of what's coming. What I get to be excited about is that for the first time, I've been now at the school for about 17 years. We were actually taking a whole month to go through this and giving these opportunities to students. So we for sophomores, we're going to have a presentation next Monday, the 22nd, discussing the course selection process with the students, and discussing all the ways that they can further get resources or clarify, right, to make the right appropriate selections. And that's the beginning of what will be 4 weeks of wonderful options to get some more information. So it begins with that. Yeah, there's always the opportunity to talk to the current teachers, and that's usually what we as counselors want to have the students put the most time into, because those current teachers have the best knowledge about what is the strength of the student in that subject, what is the weakness, they know the pathways, what are the options for next year, and so we want to access that resource and make sure we get that info and any questions answered from that teacher right now. There are going to be opportunities for an elective fairs to be able to then discuss and find out more about not just the core academics, but some of the electives we offer on our campus. The other real huge commitment we made as a department is that we are going to actually have time, 15 minutes per student, right, to be able to have a one-on-one. Once students have had those conversations, teachers in the fairs, finding out more information about all the opportunities on our campus, then we get to come in, re-look at what we just talked about, course completion, how are we progressing in different subjects, making sure that we have all the information possible to align what students and families want in terms of goals and where they want their student to then end up, right? How we can best support them with the courses they're going to be taking for the following year. So we're really excited about that. It's a huge commitment on our part, but we're really excited to get to meet with every one of the students and help them through this process. And then this is a bit of an evolving process, right? So we will be possibly adding some other opportunities. And so keep ears and eyes out on our websites and everything else for other possibilities as we're going through our first year of trying to do this. Next slide, please. When we talk about course selection, just so that you hear the same thing from us that your students are going to hear, there's some themes that we want to talk about, right? We want to make sure that we're being intentional about our choices we're making. So there's some things that we talk about with students in our one-on-ones. One theme is going to be about balance. We want to make sure that students are really thinking about the whole experience in high school. And we know that the periods of the day and the school day is only 1%, one small piece of a much larger experience that kids are having in these 4 years, whether it's club sports, whether it's leadership activities, volunteering. So we just want to make sure that we're thinking about all those pieces and what each student can do. And some students are going to have different emphasis than others, and that's okay. So we just want to make sure we're really keeping that in our minds and being cognizant of like doing what's best for each student and making sure it's reasonable and doable, and that we're not overwhelming ourselves with too much, because we want to make sure we're taking important, successful steps through high school. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is interest. We're talking about advanced courses again and again. There's a theme that we get feedback from the universities and colleges, and that is, to assume that you need to have everything at the highest level, right? And trying to kind of check off boxes in this process versus really being reflective and thinking about what are my passions, what am I really interested in, and does that reflect in the courses I pick? That's really what we're looking for. And so we want to follow up, and we want to make sure that students are following their passions, their interests, as well as keeping balance. And then lastly, and that's just a review of what we already talked about, is that we want to make sure that we're having those conversations with our teachers, our faculty, who are the experts, about where we're going and how to get there, and some advice on next steps. We want to make sure we keep that looped in, and we keep on a feedback loop on making sure we have the right choices for the following year. Next slide, please. So for this slide, I just want to make sure that families are aware of some of the other options that are out there. At sophomore year, as we roll into junior year and we go into the last 2 years, we're kind of at the halfway point, and there are some options that are out there that you can apply for from sophomore into junior year. We want to just make sure that you're very aware of them and know what they're kind of about. And I'm going to just, in terms of how I present, just discuss some of the profiles or the types of students that have been very successful in each of these programs to kind of see if that matches with your students' goals and desires. So Freestyle is a program that is not on our site, right? There are 3 options, very project-based, media arts, digital arts, communication focused, right? The 3 areas of focus are animation, design, and film production. So if your student has a passion for that and they want to really further get involved in that curriculum, that's a wonderful opportunity that we're very lucky to have available through our district. And then the second program is Foothill Middle College, and that program also is not on our campus. It is obviously on Foothill campus, and it is for the student who is looking for something beyond just the traditional high school experience. I have students, I think of quotes that they've said to me, I'm really kind of ready for something different than high school. The idea of being either involved really into sports or into science. I'm not into these kind of like different communities at high school. I just want to go on and I want to progress, and I feel like I'm ready for that college experience. Those are the kids that I've seen that have matched really well with what they offer at Foothill Middle College. The other piece is that in terms of logistics, half of the time students are on that campus doing their own courses, and then the other half, there's actually a cohort model where they're doing English and history with specific teachers through our district. So not completely doing all classes through the community college structure, and having a little bit of a cohort process. And then lastly, College Now is a third option for students off campus, again, at our local community college. In this case, it is 100% just community college classes, and there is a coordinator Mr. McHenry, who is in charge of watching that progress in terms of graduation and also the process if students are interested in higher education. So I just wanted to make sure I cover that. Lastly, I just want to kind of emphasize when we talk about the sophomore year, it's a really nice moment in time. We're halfway through this process to kind of think about where we're at for students and for families in this experience at Los Altos. You know, what have we tried? What have we not? What are things that we still want to invest our time into? What are the passions that our students want to get involved with? And how do we continue that, right? We want to use the tools we've already been presented on, the transcript and the grad evaluation, right? What's going well, what's not, making sure we're always updated on that. We have ARIES to continually monitor progress and see if there's anything that's going on that we need to be concerned about. And then there's some support areas. If there are some challenges, right? We have the ACT period, which is twice a week for almost an hour, where students can, during our school day, during the week, twice, get access to whatever staff they need to get further support. So that if we are finding, as we're looking at information, seeing where we need to work on some more things or just get more help and things we really like, right? Those are opportunities to get that support. And then there's always the opportunity to get extra resources off campus in terms of the community. And there's those resources that you can look at and to get further experiences outside of our campus, right? As we're looking into junior and senior year and what we're going to do after Los Altos. So just thinking about really where we're at, thinking about are there places that we need to shore up a bit and kind of checking in the second year, as we're going to now obviously go into the more advanced courses, third and fourth year. That's something to think about as we go through this year. And again, counseling is here to support in that process if you have any further questions. So I think that's it for me for this segment. I'm going to hand it off to Ms. Duran.
Hi, thank you. It is great to be here with everyone tonight. We appreciate you taking the time to join this presentation. So I will talk a bit about the College and Career Center. We are so fortunate to have 2 full-time staff members, myself, Ms. Duran, and then my colleague, Angela Price, who's the college advisor. Ms. Price will start working with your students in the spring of 11th grade. We're both available to students throughout their 4 years, but one-to-one college advising meetings begin with juniors in the spring. And I'm going to be your primary point of contact while your student is in 10th grade. And then at the bottom of this page, there's a link to the LHS page on the Los Altos High School website. So if you haven't checked that out, we encourage you to. And we have a visual here that kind of shows what we do in the College and Career Center. So as the title suggests, we definitely help students plan their post-secondary plans, including college. So some ways that we do that, we have college representatives come to our campus to meet with students and share information about their programs, encourage students to apply, answer questions that they might have. That typically happens in the fall. So definitely encouraging your student to participate in those visits next fall. And as 11th graders, they can get permission to miss class from their teacher. We also have a series of ACT workshops, which have been mentioned, but your student can sign up for those on Teach More. If there isn't a workshop published, they're also more than welcome to come in during any ACT period. It's a really kind of cool space, and they'll probably overhear a lot of interesting conversations with seniors and juniors right now. So encourage them to come by. I send out a weekly bulletin through Parent Square or Student Square for the students. And so just encouraging your student to please skim through those long communications, because there can be really interesting opportunities and we don't want them to miss out. But we also are being mindful of not sort of spamming the students with tons of emails over throughout the week. So we're consolidating all of that into one bulletin on Fridays, and it is also visible to parents, and we can definitely drop a link in the chat. It's also been in Eagle News. We have a YouTube channel and we have several years of recordings. So if a student or a parent wants to go on there, they can search by a keyword or sort of peruse what videos we already have and engage that way. We also have a Facebook, which is not regularly monitored, and then an Instagram page. And so we would love to direct your attention to those resources as well. But we also are looking to prepare students for what comes after high school or post-secondary training, which is going to be a majority of their lifetime, which is career. And so the 10th grade small group meetings are going to touch on that. But we want them to start thinking about who are they? What are their values? What are their skill sets? And Naviance is a tool that provides assessments for students to start sort of seeing what resonates with them, or thinking about how what their interests are might translate into a future career, and then what training might be required for that career. We also can talk to students about gaining real world experience now through internships, experiential learning, summer programs, and also informational interviews with people that are doing jobs that they might think are interesting. So definitely want to encourage students to take some action as 10th graders to help inform their course selection for next year, how they're going to spend their summer, and then what eventually are they going to possibly pursue. Knowing that sometimes trying something and realizing it's not for them can be more valuable, if not as valuable, as doing something and being like, oh, I really, really like this, I'm on the right track. But they won't know unless they get some hands-on experience. And then for extracurriculars, we can connect students with the LHS clubs, volunteering opportunities, other types of activities that they might be interested in, building a resume or an activities list, and then really thinking through the why behind the what. So it's not just accumulating as many activities as possible, but why are they choosing those activities? What are they learning from those opportunities? And how are they talking about it so that other people can understand how they think about something or how they've processed it. Okay. So this is just another slide on Naviance. I kind of mentioned those different activities that they can take. It's in the self-discovery section. We asked them to do those in 9th grade. We're going to have them log back into Naviance in the 10th grade small group meetings. If a student is interested in kind of connecting careers to preparation, they can also start searching or researching colleges. And Naviance uses single sign-on. So if you hear your student saying, I don't have an account, or I don't know my password, every single student has an account automatically generated if they have an MVLA email account, and that is how they can sign in. So there's just a teal button that says single sign-on. They click that and it takes them right in. If a parent or guardian would like to have their own Naviance account, you can just send me an email and I'm happy to create it for you. Just please include your student's name, and I'll just send you temporary credentials and then you can set up your permanent password. Happy to do that. Okay. And some other reasons why your student might want to come into the College and Career Center, besides the fact that we're in the brand new Student Services building, we have amazing views of the front of campus and the back of campus. So I encourage them to come by, if not just to see the space, but they can also start doing some college research, get information. We have physical books. We also have many website resources that we can connect them with. Again, the college rep visits that happen in the fall, those career job volunteering information. I just sent out a very lengthy summer program email to parents and students through Student Square. So if you're not quite sure what that is, please reach out. We can make sure you're set up on Parent Square, and that's also linked in the weekly bulletin. And then this year, students can set up an appointment through email, but they won't be having one-to-one meetings until spring of junior year, but they can also definitely meet with us anytime in advance of that. And then we also provide test prep information. So the foundation has generously sponsored PSAT and SAT testing in the fall for students. And so your student might have taken the PSAT this year. Next year, they will have the option of taking the PSAT or an official SAT. So lots of questions around testing and requirements. We'd be happy to have those conversations on an individual basis. And we're also going to have ACT workshops so students can better understand where they might fit and why they might want to take an official test or take the PSAT. So what can you do as a family now? I think starting to talk about options after high school as a family, not just in this sort of what is college way, but, you know, do you have preferences around location or cost or anything like that? Or is it completely wide open? Maybe scheduling some opportunities to visit a local college, or no pressure, just going to see a campus. We have some really amazing options locally. Santa Clara University to the south is 11 miles away, I think. UC Santa Cruz is great to visit. San Jose State, UC Berkeley across the bay, San Francisco State. So we have Sonoma State. We have several amazing universities in our very local area. And that can just be a great way for you and your student to see, what does a 40,000 student campus feel like? What does a smaller campus feel like? What does a private versus a public campus feel like? And then making some notes about that. There are also going to be a couple spring college fairs. One is going to be at West Valley College in early April. I don't think signups are available yet, but I will definitely be posting information about it, and you can save the date and the time. We also have the annual MVLA Countdown to College event, which will be virtual, and we'll have a series of workshops throughout the evening that students and parents can pop into. A favorite is usually the alumni student panel and the current senior student panel, so you can hear firsthand from LAHS and Mountain View High School students on what their experience has been like, what do they wish they would have known, which can be very interesting, and it's fun to hear the students talk about their experience. And then the last set of dates there, those are all national virtual college fairs. And so several dates, they are usually in the morning until the early afternoon, and you can pick which sessions you want to go to or look up a specific college and then opt into that. Okay. And for the summer, I know I sent out that big long list. I think the important thing to remember is that summer is a time to relax. It's a time to rejuvenate, to connect with friends and family, but it's also a lot of time to explore. And so we would love for students to take some action over the summer to expand, push outside of their comfort zone. So maybe that means getting a part-time job, maybe that's volunteering somewhere, perhaps it's a internship, a summer program, or a camp, or maybe it's taking a community college course. So there's many ways for students to challenge themselves while rejuvenating, and we'd be happy to talk to your student about what that might look like for them. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Mr. Loreen. Thank you.
Great. Just to kind of wrap up our time together in terms of the formal presentation, we wanted to really just kind of emphasize a couple extra things here at the end to make sure we review some important themes for us as a counseling department. And so balance, again, is a key theme for us here at Los Altos High School. We have students doing a myriad of activities inside school, outside of school, on the weekends, in the summers. And we just want to make sure that at the top of our list, right? And I can say this when I talk to students one-on-one, one of the first things we want to make sure they're doing is that they're able to enjoy their time as a student at Los Altos. They're getting their rest. They are eating well. They are in a positive space when they're on our campus. And that oftentimes means we have to sometimes prioritize what works for us and what doesn't. And I think what resonates for all of us is that as these young people are maturing, right? Those are skills that we as adults, and I'll raise my hand here as a father to a 2-year-old at this point, we all then have to make decisions around what we can and can't do, what is reasonable with the time we have, and where do we have to prioritize putting our time into, right? And so I think this 4 years with us is part of that journey that we're all still trying to refine and adjust and understand. And so we want to talk about all these activities and how they fit into what everyone has 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? What is doable, what is not, right? Maybe I need to cut out these two less important or less desirable options that I'm being involved in, right? In order to do some of these things I want to do in the summer. Or maybe I need to think about what I'm taking, as an example, let's just say English and history, right, courses versus some of the advanced courses I would really like to focus in on in math and science, or just math, or just, right? And so this is what we want to make sure we're constantly checking in with students with. Well, we also know this journey can change from one year to the next. So that's why we do have our check-ins. We do have these opportunities to have these conversations with the students so that we can kind of make sure we're keeping that theme of balance in the forefront of our minds, thinking about what's going on. And then also, on the slide here, it reminds me, right, we're talking about what is done. I think just as importantly, right, what is not, right? Some time to just not be going from one place or to the other, to be still and to kind of understand where we're at in this example as a sophomore and going into junior year, and where we're at, how our quality of life is as a student at Los Altos. There is on the presentation a link to a time management worksheet, which is wonderful. It will kind of block out, right, depending on what choices you want to make, right, with your curriculum, right, how many hours, right, in terms of homework. We're talking about sports, has all these different components that you can kind of use to kind of see what your theoretical, right, 5-day and even weekend would look like, what the commitments are trying to make. We want to give you some tools to look ahead and see what would work and not. So we definitely recommend you hit that link and then use that as a great activity and maybe a conversation starter at home to see what works and what doesn't for your student. Okay. Next slide is going to talk a little bit about our resources. We just want to highlight all the wonderful opportunities and all the supports we have on our campus. 7 counselors, really lucky to have that many here to work with your student all 4 years. We're going to be checking in consistently. I don't want to repeat, but there's a variety of contact points this year, right, to make sure we're hitting all the right areas of support for your student. And we're going to continue that for the next 2 years. The tutorial and writing centers are wonderful places. I have many of my students that go there. What a great place to get help. And for students that might still be shy to work with adults, we're talking about peer mentors, right? Peer tutors. So students who've already taken those courses at Los Altos, maybe a year or 2 older, who can help guide them and make them feel supported in their academics. College and Career Center, where we just had a great presentation and discovered all the wide variety of supports and services. I tell students go in at least once a year to make that conversation happen with Mr. Rand and Ms. Price, see if there's anything else that's going on in the community. It is really pretty mind-blowing, the variety of services and possibilities that kids can have just by going in and asking some questions about what's going on, and some great possibilities for students at Los Altos. CHAC is our mental health and wellness service provider. And so that is there for students. There's a lot going on through these 4 years. There are going to be sometimes some challenging moments, and we just want to make sure that parents and students are aware that there are services to support when we go through those moments. And it is definitely part of our mainstream, part of what we do at Los Altos, and we're here to help each other to continue to succeed. And then in terms of the Spanish-speaking community, we have quite a large variety of staff that are able to provide that support. There's always somebody in all of our main offices who can help with language translation. And in particular, Ms. Maria Huerni is our liaison and ELL support, and want to make sure we highlight that for support services. And then for the next slide, just again, making sure that in terms of our mental health services on our site, we have a variety of options, so we can have some one-on-one supports if that's something that needs to be done. And we have also group work that happens on our campus if that is appropriate, depending on the concern. And we also have the ability, whether by preference or need, to be off-site and have a space for students to get help for those that need it not necessarily on our campus. And so we have a wide variety of options for students when they need supports. So again, we just wanted to review for you kind of what we provide here at Los Altos on behalf of the counseling staff. Just real quickly, we just say it's such a pleasure to be able to communicate this information to you guys, and hopefully in this format that really gives access to many families with very different schedules, right? To have this recorded, accessible to those who want it live, and then those you cannot make it. We want to make sure you can get the same quality of information from us. So this last slide here, before we go into, I think we have a little bit of a Q&A, is just a parent survey, right? If you can just hit that QR code real quick, we'd love to get some feedback. We are always trying to improve. We're always trying to reflect on how we've done what we've done and see if we can do it better. And so we'd appreciate some of that feedback to help us out for planning for this year and next year. So with that, I believe we're going to get everyone back on, and we'll give you actually just a minute or two here to click on that QR and get some time to do the survey. And then I think we're gonna get into some Q&A.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for just every piece that you've done tonight. We're going to answer a couple of questions that came up in the Q&A that we felt that everyone would want to know the answer to, right? And so the first question is, where would you get the information as far as when the College and Career Center is open and when is it open? Mr. Rand, can you answer that question for me?
Yeah, sure. We arrive at 8 in the morning and then we're there through the end of the day. But if a student can't make it during the regularly scheduled day, we can definitely meet after school. It's just best that they confirm with us that we're available instead of just kind of swinging by, because there are some days that we leave at the end, but often we're there after. But it's best just to confirm if they want to meet.
Thank you, Ms. Duran. There was another great question about the time management worksheet. The time management worksheet is located on our MVLA website under counseling, and it's under the course selection, if I'm not mistaken. And so they do have the time management worksheet available on our counseling website, so you're able to get it there. And we'll also be providing that as a resource for students when they receive their course selection sheet, which will be on Monday when we go into the classrooms. And we will provide on the backside of the course selection kind of list. It'll be on the backside, the time management worksheet. So great questions. And then another question that came up was about health. I know that it was answered, but in the summertime, typically in between the freshman year and sophomore year, or sophomore year and junior year, they do have the ability to take health. We've had the pleasure to have it in seat as well as online. And so the students will have the ability to sign up for that starting in March, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know, Mr. Morales, it was a question pertaining to kind of the grading system, kind of in detail. And I didn't know if you wanted to take a crack at that, just a little bit, if you don't mind, Mr. Morales. And then we will kind of finish up.
Absolutely. So good evening. My name is Mr. Morales. I have the privilege of working with our amazing counseling team. And it's truly a great honor to get to know these folks. And I hope that your students take full advantage of the amazing team that we have, just because of their dedication, their advocacy, and just the continued love that they have for our students to make sure that they're able to achieve at the highest level possible. And my role is to really support them as best as I can. My other responsibility is to work with various academic departments in helping them structure how we support our students. And then the administrative team, each of us, there's four assistant principals and Ms. Ranieri, our principal, and we each are liaisons to the various academic departments that we have. In regards to why we don't have a standard grading policy, we truly believe in academic freedom in allowing our faculty to provide guidance as to how they are providing their grades. And a lot of thought and effort goes into thinking about how we are assessing our students. And we're always looking at the most recent and available research. And sometimes some faculty are much more adventurous in trying to take those approaches, and other faculty are a little bit more traditional in how they approach their grading style. So each department and course team come to an agreement as to how they will be grading students, what assessments are going to be considered a major assessment or projects. And what we're finding is that some of our faculty are moving towards trying to find a balance as to how the students can show mastery so that it accurately reflects their ability, and not necessarily having to count everything in the most traditional way that we used to approach our grading style. So you do see some some variety there, but we always are always trying to act in the best interest of our students and making sure that we provide them with an accurate representation of who and what they are mastered, so that we can give them the best opportunity, so that when they are applying to college and a student is receiving from Los Altos High School, that the colleges recognize the effort and the great work that went into that A, that it's not just this imaginary A that doesn't really accurately represent the great work that students are doing. So a long answer to something that that we're trying to manage. But again, further conversations, we encourage you to come and reach out either to me or one of the administrators, and we can sit down with you and kind of address your concerns, and also have you have a conversation with our department coordinators to better illustrate why we're choosing to do certain things. So hopefully that answers that question.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. I wanted to also let all of the sophomore parents aware that Miss Kristen Castillo is the sophomore assistant principal. So therefore, if you have any questions, concerns, anything of that nature, Miss Kristen Castillo is the assistant principal for the sophomore class. And I did receive another lovely question about the recording. If I'm not mistaken, it probably will become available probably next week. So, it'll be on our website under resources. And so just know that we are diligent about getting this out to families. It's a new process. We definitely are excited about this new journey that we're embarking on as far as meeting with your students one-on-one to ensure that their course selections are accurate. We're talking to them, having conversations. The teachers are having conversations. We definitely want to make sure that students are they're able to pick their classes, and then you will receive the verification. So therefore, you'll definitely be able to see what your students have selected. And then it'll be a time frame to where you'll probably connect with the counselor to make the necessary adjustments if needed. But we definitely appreciate you taking the time out tonight to be able to, get this information. We have enjoyed this evening. I hope you have a great evening. Stay safe, and don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here. We're only a click away. So have a good night.